Back in October 2019, I left my corporate job in big tech. At the time, I was crippled with self-doubt, stuck in overthinking, and I had no real sense of purpose. But since then, I've completely turned my life around. I've started a successful coaching business. I'm genuinely excited to get up every day. I'm traveling the world with my amazing wife, and I've never felt more aligned, confident, and free in my life. But if I could go back in time and speak to my 29-year-old self so that he could get these results a lot faster, here are 22 brutal truths I would tell him. So lesson number 1 is don't ask people for advice who aren't living the life that you want to live. Now, at the start of your journey, you might be tempted to go ask your friends, to go ask pretty much anyone for advice on whether you should get started. But they will give you advice that's based on their reality, and they might have the best possible intentions, but they're most likely going to project their own limitations onto you. This is especially true with your parents who, their role is to keep you safe. And so the advice they're going to give is for you to stay safe, which will rarely be what's needed if you want to start your own business, if you want to go out on your own. So make sure to only ask people for advice who are actually living the life that you want to live. Lesson number 2 is whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. So this is a quote by Henry Ford. And so drill this into your brain, because your beliefs, they dictate what you see as possible. And so if you think that you're not capable of doing something, well, that's just going to dictate what's possible for you. So really keep your beliefs in check and choose to believe things that actually empower you, that actually serve you. Lesson number 3 is optimize for the long term. Be patient. You'll have a tendency to overestimate what you can achieve in 1 year, but underestimate what you can achieve in 10. One of the secrets of success is longevity. So make sure that you optimize for longevity, you optimize for the long term, so that you're not, seeking immediate results, and that you're actually being patient and trusting that if you follow this process, if you keep showing up, well, the results will compound over time, but that might take 5-10 years. So think in longer terms. Lesson number 4 is celebrate your failures. So the founder of Spanx, Sarah Blakey, who is now a billionaire, she credits most of her success to what her father would ask her whenever she got home from school. And he would also ask her, what did you fail at today? And then he would celebrate the failures with her. And so she switched how she saw failure, because she saw failure as a good thing. And failure is a good thing because it's going to be the backbone of all your successes. And so if you want to double your success rate, double your failure rate. And one of the best ways to do that is to celebrate your failures and embrace them and welcome them. Because the faster you fail, the faster you'll get results, the faster you'll get to where you want to go. Which brings us to lesson 5, which is create your future origin stories. So use these failures to create your origin story. So for example, last year I started building my own community. And at the beginning, I had these group calls that I would organize where sometimes no one showed up. And whenever that happened, I was excited, because I was like, oh, I cannot wait to tell this story 5-10 years from now, that when I first started, no one showed up. And so that made failure a lot more manageable and bearable for me, because it was me creating my future origin story. So the story I will tell 5-10 years from now about how I overcame adversity and how, I didn't give up when times were tough. So think of, whenever you're afraid of failing or whenever you're facing failure, just think of the story that you'll be able to tell, because the bigger the dragon you have to face, the bigger the hero. And so the bigger your failures, the bigger the things you have to overcome, the better the story will be when you tell it down the line. Lesson number 6 is approach your life as an infinite game instead of a finite game. So a finite game is where there's a clear set of rules. It's like football or tennis. There's a beginning, there's an end, there's a winner, there's a loser. But an infinite game is just a game where the aim of the game is just to keep playing. There is no winning or losing. It's just about showing up. And most of us approach our life as a finite game. We're constantly on the point of either losing, or we're constantly things are at stake. We either win or we lose. Whereas if you approach your life as an infinite game, well then, every time you fail, you just get to respawn. And if the aim of the game is to keep playing, then as long as you don't quit, you can't lose. Lesson number 7 is don't skip the reps. It's really not about the outcome. It's about the person that you become along the way. And so when you skip the reps, or you skip on the becoming part. So for example, when I wanted to get good at public speaking, I skipped the reps because I went straight to learning a script off by heart and just performing a script. Or when it came to videos, I was using a teleprompter, or I would learn my lines off by heart and just repeat them. And so by doing that, I wasn't actually getting any better at public speaking. I wasn't actually getting better at speaking in front of a camera because I was skipping the reps. And so it's only when I started just filming myself off the cuff and stopped using scripts that I actually became good or better at speaking in front of a camera. But that was because I stopped skipping the reps. So, really drill this into your brain to not skip the reps, like do the hard things, because it's not about the outcome. It's not about the end result. It's really about who you become, the person that you become along the way. Lesson number 8 is stop waiting for clarity. Clarity comes by doing. It's in action that you'll discover things that you would never discover by trying to figure them out. So get yourself in motion. Stop waiting for clarity before you start and just get started. Lesson number 9 is fear is not something you need to overcome. It's actually possible to do things scared, which is the definition of being brave. So next time you face something scary, instead of focusing on the fear, instead focus on the courage and the fact that you are being so brave right now. Lesson number 10 is get yourself a coach. Someone who will believe in you no matter what. Someone who will keep reminding you of your most powerful self. So I have come to giving up so many times throughout this entire process, but one of the things that always kept me going, one of the things that helps me keep going even when it was the last thing I wanted to do, and that was working with a coach. Someone who was there, who reflected back what I was going through, but also who kept reminding me and seeing me as the powerful human being that I am, because otherwise you will forget what you're capable of. You will forget, why you're doing this. And so a coach has been single-handedly one of the most important things in me continuing on this journey and not giving up when times are tough. Lesson number 11 is stop looking for certainty. Make decisions, take actions, and trust yourself that you'll be able to handle whatever happens as a result of them. Because your need for certainty is basically just another form of control, but it's just not possible to have absolute certainty. And so the key to peace of mind, the key to freedom isn't to have more certainty and control more outcomes, is actually to learn to trust your ability to handle whatever happens. Will you be able to be there for yourself when things fail? Or will you be able to handle the situation if things don't go your way? Because that's where true freedom comes from, not in your ability to predict everything that's going to happen. Lesson number 12 is choose to see life as happening for you and not to you. And this is a choice. This is not a truth. But when you choose to look at life in this way, it will give meaning to everything that you face. And, when I burnt out 6-7 years ago now, it was one of the worst times of my life. It was literally the worst thing that could possibly happen to me. I hated it. But now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, that is the best thing that could ever happen to me. And so trust that every breakdown that you have will actually lead to breakthroughs. And that comes as a result of seeing your life as happening for you and not to you. It gives you more agency, it gives you more ownership, and it's just a grace you can give yourself to live life with way more ease and peace of mind. Lesson number 13 is own your interpretations. It's not the things that happen to us that make us suffer, it's how we interpret them. So if someone cuts you off in traffic, and you get upset, it's not because they cut you off in traffic. It's because of how you interpreted them cutting you off in traffic. And when we realize that we are the owner of our interpretation, this gives us way more agency in life. It gives us way more possibility to actually choose a response. Like Viktor Frankl in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, talks about responding versus reacting, and that within when everything happens to you, there's a space where you have the possibility to either react or to either respond. And that space is your interpretation. And so when you realize that you are actually the owner of your interpretations, it means that you can choose to interpret things differently, which means you can choose to have a different response. Lesson number 14 is be the creator of your experience, not the victim of your circumstances. So taking radical responsibility or radical ownership is just a grace that you can give yourself that gives you way more of a say in the matter of your own life. And so it's not about assigning blame, giving fault, but instead it's just about gaining your power back. Because whenever you assign blame to others, whenever you assign blame to your circumstances, to your parents for how you are, well, you're giving all your power away. And so taking ownership is just a way of regaining that power so that you can actually have a say in the matter of your own life. Lesson number 15 is protect your thinking at all costs, because the quality of your thoughts will determine the quality of your life. And so you really, really want to protect, and filter what you allow to influence your thinking. And so this can be the news, this can be social media, this can be your friends, this can be a coach. Do whatever you can to upgrade the quality of your thinking so that you improve the quality of your life. Lesson number 16 is spend more time creating rather than consuming. As a general rule of thumb, the wealthy people create, whereas poor people consume. So whenever you can, just try to just create stuff, whether that's writing in your journal, whether that's creating videos, whether that's creating content. Spend more time in a creative state than consuming, reading, or at least find a good balance between the two. Lesson number 17 is that whenever you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. So whenever you say yes to that project or yes to helping that person out, well, you're actually saying no to something else. And a lot of the time, what you end up saying no to is yourself or one of your needs. But you can only pour from a cup that's full. So make sure to protect your needs by being diligent and being very careful with what you say yes to, and practice saying no as much as you can as well. Lesson number 18 is that there is no secret, there is no magical place to get to where you will be happy and fulfilled all the time. On top of this, with every level there's a new devil, and this is a great thing because it means that there's no place to get to and that you're exactly where you need to be right now on your own personal journey. So make sure to enjoy the journey. Which brings us to lesson 19. You have already achieved the goals that you said would make you happy. And so achieving more is not the solution. Enjoying the journey is. And I know that's so much easier said than done once you've actually experienced the journey, but trust me. And if we link back to earlier, it's not about the outcome, it's not about the destination. It's really about the journey and the person that you become along the way. So make time to enjoy the journey and be okay with where you are right now, because right now is the only moment that truly exists. Lesson number 20 is remind yourself to be grateful. Slow down, take a deep breath, and just connect with how lucky you are to be alive right now. It's crazy. And gratitude for me is one of the key elements of building resilience. It's one of the key elements of continuing, of keeping going. And also, it's one of the best ways I find to come back to the present moment. If you're a high achiever like me, you'll probably have a tendency to constantly be searching for the next thing. And gratitude allows you to anchor into the present moment and just remind yourself of how lucky you are to be alive, how lucky you are to be on this planet. Lesson number 21 is be the ocean, not the wave. Zoom out and learn to enjoy the full spectrum of emotions. Like, life is meant to have up and down moments. And so instead of focusing on the lows or the individual emotions of, if it's sadness, if it's stress, if it's anger, whatever, fear, zoom out and realize that actually you're part of a wider ocean. And it's completely normal to be feeling these things. And what you'll find is that when you start embracing and feeling your emotions fully, that's when you will trust that you can handle more things. That's when you will just be able to fully experience life, both the good and the bad. This is what it means to be alive. And so embrace your emotions and zoom out so that you can be the ocean, not the wave. And the final lesson, number 22, which is also one of my favorites ever, is a quote by Ricky Gervais, who said that the best advice I have received is that no one else knows what they are doing either. And I find this so comforting because it's so true. No one actually knows what they're doing. We're all specks of dust spinning on a rock at 100,000 kilometers per hour. So you cannot tell me that you know what you're doing. And so connecting with this, it just reminds me to not take life so seriously and just go out there, try, have fun, figure things out along the way, because that's all that you can do. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you can apply some of these lessons to yourself. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow my newsletter below. And as always, wishing you the most amazing day. Much love.